Okay. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to um, our session this evening entitled Vine Ripened Babies. Our session tonight is sponsored by Juice Plus, the whole food nutrition that can help individuals and families attain and sustain optimal health. And this evening we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Doug Odom, and we're going to have an opportunity to hear a conversation between Dr. Doug and Elaine Mason. And then afterwards, we'll also hear from one of our partners, Caitlyn Cobb, who's been with Juice Plus for almost 11 years. Elaine has been with Juice Plus for about 23 years or more, and Dr. Doug has surpassed everyone, and he's with Juice Plus for quite some time. As a matter of fact, I'm going to get to that when I go through his bio. But we truly appreciate you being here with us tonight. And just to discuss Dr. Odom briefly, Dr. Odom is a renowned OBGYN doctor. He has been practicing medicine since the 1960s. Now, that is remarkable when you think of him being in that profession from the 1960s until now. In that time, he's made some major accomplishments. Dr. Odom began practicing sometime after his residency in 1973. And then in 2015, he actually retired from his private OBGYN practice, but continued in his field. Dr. Odom has delivered over 17,000 babies. That is amazing. From 1965 until 2002, during which time he also served as an associate clinical professor at UMMC until 2003. Now, Dr. Odom is from Mississippi. He's been there, born and raised, and he's married. He has 5 sons and 6 grandchildren, and a passion for teaching and coaching. He has lectured worldwide. He's also addressed audiences such as those at Yale and Stanford universities and the renowned Mayo Clinic. And he's also been an original board member of the Children's Health Study. And perhaps a little later, you'll hear more about that Children's Health Study, but that is a remarkable study in the field of family health. And finally, Dr. Odom was instrumental in initiating gold standard study on the effects of Juice Plus on reducing pregnancy complications. And this study was conducted at UMMC in Jackson, Mississippi. Now that truly is instrumental, and based on that work, all of those accomplishments, we now have him with us visiting today, because the topic Vine Ripened Babies is actually going to be a conversation between him and Elaine Mason about how whole food nutrition plays a vital role in pregnancy health, whether it's in utero or after the birth of the children, and then continuing through the life of the children and the families. So without any further ado, we're going to give our attention to Dr. Doug and Elaine.
Thank you so much, Mara. I'm thrilled to be on this call. Dr. Odom, I have always admired you, and just for many reasons. But when I looked at that bio, I thought, wow, we are in for a treat this evening. So thank you for sharing your time with us. And I'm going to ask questions that I'm hoping everyone on the call is thinking as well. And as I was reading your list of accomplishments, all the thing that I really wanted to hear from you was, what was it that what created that passion within you to care about just the health of pregnant women, as well as just safe deliveries? What took you into your field of work?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you so much, Mara, for that introduction, and thank you, Elaine, for inviting me on this call. And this is what gives me such a thrill, is just like what we're doing here, is having a conversation. And so the answer to your question about why and how and the passion and for my patients, I will say that I've heard for years and years that women love their obstetrician. And I turned that right around, and I loved every one of my patients. I loved being in their lives and helping them solve problems. And I can honestly credit my attitude and my servant heart to my parents that taught me early on that it's better to give, and it's so much more beneficial when it's given, when whatever you do is given with joy in your heart. So my mother taught me to be kind to the elderly and especially women. And so it was just a natural fit for me to do that. And as far as the study, and as far as Juice Plus and why nutrition and why food, and it's because part of that is selfish. I will tell you that I was in a courtroom one time in my life because of medicine, and it was not even my patient. It was operating on one of my partner's patients, and I just got drug into it because he did, the hospital did, and so forth. But I literally wanted to practice the type of medicine that was honest, and all patients ever really want is an honest answer. They want the truth. You never want to take away their hope. You never want to tell them that their grandmother only has 3 months to live, or anything like that. But at the same time, I was trying to find something that literally would lower the risk of my patients having a pregnancy complication. We call them preventable complications. And if we think about it, a pregnancy is 266 days. It's 9 months long, 40 weeks. And if you compare a pregnancy to your lifespan of 80 years, or I'm rounding up, it's exactly the same concept, and physiology is the same. Oxidative stress is the same. Aging, chronic inflammation is the same. In a pregnancy, it's just compressed into those 9 months. It's pushed into that. But I really did not want to go to court. I did not want my patients to sue me. And so there are two aspects that are present when there's a lawsuit. And one is when the doctor deviates, or anybody deviates from the standard. And the other is when there's an adverse outcome. So there can be outcomes in a pregnancy that are not predicted, and surely are not expected, and certainly no one wants. But as long as the doctor didn't deviate from the standard of care, well, then I was never worried. But I still wanted to have just something extra that would help those patients not have an adverse outcome. And preach as I might, I could tell them they needed to eat better, needed to eat healthier. I hired a nutritionist once. I hired a dietitian to talk to my patients, and it went in one ear and out the other. And I would love to say, but I was telling them what they needed to hear, but they just weren't hearing it. They weren't accepting it. But when I found a vehicle that I could say, this is what we're doing in our family, and I've have a very healthy family. My wife is very healthy. She's just a little bit younger than me, but together our ages equal over 150. So, but everybody wanted to know what we were doing. So this is my real hair. I take no medicine. She's extremely healthy. She takes no medicines. We're active. I wouldn't say we work out, but we're active. We get our 8 hours of sleep. We get our full complement of water, hydration. We reduce stress. I have no stress in my life now for the last 8 years. And even when I was practicing medicine, I try not to let that stress be manifested for anybody to be able to say, gosh, he's under stress. But the one thing that's missing for all of us is what we eat. It's our diet. And that's just what goes in our body. It's the nutrition. And we know what to do. Most people know what to do. Most people know what to avoid. And most people eat in, I'm from Mississippi. We eat there for two reasons. I've been saying this forever, taste and pleasure. And then I read the book, The Pleasure Trap, which really outlined even more why people are doing it. And it's great to have that pleasure that's associated with food, unless it has a negative consequence. And we should not want to have negative consequences. We're dying in this country much younger than we need to. We're developing diseases that we should not. We are overweight, we are undernourished, and we are extremely unhealthy. So pregnant or not, it's a matter of not having bad dietary habits, but having excellent dietary habits that literally have no consequences or have no negative consequences. And that's what we all should be doing every day. And we get to tell people how they can do that and how it can change the whole makeup in their entire body so that they start craving the healthy foods. And what we know today from just gut health, and I'm on my 35th book on gut health, and they're all saying the same thing. Plant food is the key. Fiber and phytonutrients. That's what feeds your good bacteria, your beneficial bacteria. And we have it. Juice Plus, we have it. We have the fiber. We have the phytonutrients. It makes a difference. It is a deal changer. It is it's an opportunity for people to transform their health and to live longer and die shorter.
So it sounds like then you were looking for a tool, not only personally, but also for your patients. And I just loved how you shared just from a heart of really caring. And when you said only one time you've been in court after all those years and that many babies, that's very impressive. And it wasn't even you. So to me, when I'm hearing you talk, it's just, what was it about Juice Plus? Well, one, how did you hear about Juice Plus? And then two, what was it? There's so many things out there. I know that a lot of people are confused with, the latest and greatest, and this is the best, and that's the best. What was it that you, from a medical professional standpoint, when you saw Juice Plus, what was it that said, this is what I want to personally take? And to go beyond that, I'm going to recommend this to my patients.
Well, I found Juice Plus in January 1998. So I'm in my 25th year now. But something 10 years before 98, in 1988, my mother was diagnosed with colon cancer. And her doctor, she lived 100 miles from where I lived. But I was there for her surgery. And I talked with her doctor, who I knew from medical school. He was a couple of years ahead of me, but he was a good friend. And I said, I'm 44. This was the night of her surgery. And she had cancer everywhere. It was in her lungs. It was all over her abdomen. They did studies afterward, and it was in her brain. So she had metastasis everywhere. I didn't expect her to live 3-4 months. I never asked the question, well, what's my mom's prognosis? I didn't. No one. I've been in medicine for 20 something years at that point. And I knew that it was not a good prognosis. But so I said, what do I need to do? And he said, he told me 5 things. I'll never forget them. He said, get a colonoscopy this week. Normally people wait till they're 50, but if you have a first degree relative that has colon cancer, you go as soon as that happens. Of course, if you have rectal bleeding or other symptoms, you go then. But your insurance will pay for it after 50. So that's when most people get that dreaded thing that they hate. I've had 8 now. They've all been normal. Cancer usually starts in polyps. And so if you don't have polyps, that's a good thing. That was one thing. He said, give up red meat or cut way back. He said, eat as much high fiber food every day as you can. The 4th thing he said was drink as much water as you can get in your body. And he didn't say purified, because back in those days, you weren't that concerned about how contaminated the water is. But today it's pretty obvious. You don't want to just be drinking out of the tap typically. But the 5th thing that he said changed my life, changed our family's health and the direction of my practice. He said, consume as many antioxidants every day as you can. I've been out of medical school for 20 years or so at this point. I knew that was good, but I really didn't know what an antioxidant was. But I started reading and I started educating myself about the relationship, as Wendy Campbell would say, between nutrition and disease. And the bottom line is antioxidants that he was saying consume. He didn't say take. He said consume. That means eat them. Get them from your food, not from vitamins or not from a factory, not from a supplement. Get them from real food. So that didn't click at first. But I did what most people would have done in '88. I started taking vitamins. And so before we knew it, we were taking over 30 different combinations of vitamins, spending over $100 a month. I say we, my wife and I, and thinking we were doing the best thing for us. And in '88, that was maybe the prevailing thought. But I knew that it was something better than that, and it was food. And we just needed to eat the right food. And we don't really put a premium on plant-based foods and unrefined plant-based foods, the real deal, the real thing. And we don't put a real premium on eating a variety. If we eat the same foods every day, every week, fish on Friday and whatever casserole on Thursday and something on Wednesday, just eating the same foods. So they all have these antioxidants and they have thousands and thousands of them. And what are antioxidants? They're electron donors. And what do they do? What is their role in the human body? They are neutralizing free radicals. So what are free radicals? They're oxygen-free radicals, oxygen compounds missing an electron. So I know y'all have heard David Phillips and others talk about oxidative stress. Too many free radicals is oxidative stress. Whether you're pregnant or whether you're 55 years old or whether you're an 8th grade basketball player, free radicals affect all of us. And the more that we can neutralize, the less damage, the less disease, the slower we age, and the better health we have. So think of antioxidants as protection, and think of antioxidants in a term of optimal health. If you have antioxidant excess, you won't reserve antioxidants. So how do you get that? You get that only from eating lots of plant food, lots of them, and then just storing some of them because you can. And that's our message. That's our Juice Plus message. Antioxidants or protection. So when he said consume antioxidants, I was looking for a way that I could influence my patients beyond having a dietitian tell them to eat more plant food. Because when we looked at the bottom line after having these people come to the office and talk to these patients, it didn't make an impact on results. That's so sad. So even though we're spending a lot of money in medicine, in our minds with early diagnosis, we aren't really focusing on prevention. We aren't talking about why are we having these problems? What's the root cause? And most of this can be traced back to lifestyle.
Mm.
It's traced back to what's going in the body and how that influences um, chronic inflammation and inflammation. So eat the foods that are anti-inflammation. Eat an anti-inflammatory diet. That's plant food. Don't focus on these pro-inflammatory diets, and that's sugar and processed food, that's gluten and dairy, and it's certainly all animal. So that's not to say that animal's bad for you, but in the amounts that we're consuming, it's bad for us. And it's causing us to have terrible health and a terrible outlook and a terrible prognosis.
If there are people on the call, I'm going to show them what Juice Plus looks like. And maybe you could talk a little bit about just our different blends that we have. And I think too, just from you as a doctor, looking at Juice Plus, a lot of times, like you said, doctors will say, eat more fruits and vegetables. What was it when you looked at Juice Plus that was it the research that you took a look at that helped move from, okay, this is whole food, this isn't just a supplement? How did you get there professionally, for one thing? And I know people would love to hear that, but as well as that, just so many doctors will just dismiss Juice Plus, not even look at the research or what it truly is. How did you kind of make that hurdle? And then what was it once you really looked at Juice Plus or the research behind Juice Plus that made you say, this is food and I'm going to put my stamp of approval on it?
Well, that was about 10 questions, but I'll try to remember, man.
Sorry about that.
When I started in 98, you have to realize Juice Plus was launched in March of 93. So when I found it, it was not even 5 years into it. So in 1998, they had no research. They did not have the first gold standard study, but there was some dancing around. There were a few protocols and a few preliminary events that happened that that helped me understand that this is food in a broken down, simplified form. You might say concentrated. What does that really mean? It means the water is taken out. It means most of the fiber is removed. That's what juicing does. But the thing that was so impactful that really grabbed me was that the company removed the sugar, which is the calories. So each capsule only has 2.5 calories, which is nothing. If you consider one M&M is the equivalent of 4 of our capsules. So not a whole lot of sugar that you have to deal with. But they added some fiber back, which is good. Not much fiber, but they added some. But when you add our complex carbs, which is what the 3 blend is, the trio, it's the fruit, vegetable, and berry blend. Those are complex carbs. And so complex carbs are what you want. Simple carbs, you want to limit those. So when you get your mind wrapped around this, it's food, it's synergistic, it's concentrated, but it's in the same form as food, and it's not made in a it's not made out of products. It's literally food without the water and most of the fiber and most of the sugar. And then you have the the omega blend, which is literally the perfect balance of omega-6s to omega-3s. And you get an added benefit of omegas-5s and 7s and 9s, which are all healthy fatty acids. But you have the perfect balance between omega-6s and omega-3s. And that's about 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. that's the ratio, the balance. But in real life, most people, if you measured their omega-6 to omega-3 ratio and what they eat, it's about 40 to 1 or 50 to 1, which is a terrible balance for DHA and EPA, which is what we're really trying to get in our omegas. So it's all balanced nutrition. That's what I was looking for, a simplified way, a vehicle to say, this is what will make a difference for you. The prenatal vitamin was still the standard of care, and I never told a patient, don't do those, do this instead. I said, if you want to do your vitamins, fine. I'm not telling you don't, but I'm telling you, I'm strongly not recommending, I'm insisting that you look at what Juice Plus can do for you. Because when we looked at the outcomes, it was a retrospective analysis of 242 patients over 4 years. We didn't have a patient that had toxemia of pregnancy. We didn't have gestational diabetes. We just didn't have it. We didn't see it. We didn't see preterm labor. And we didn't have one mother that delivered before 37 weeks if they were consistent with Juice Plus and took it started in the first trimester. That's the power of reducing oxidative stress throughout a 266-day period.
Wow. When you share that was going to be my next question. So you read my mind. You shared what you saw in your patients once they started taking Juice Plus. And I'm sure as that happened, your belief just continued to grow incredibly. One thing as you're just sharing that I was so impressed with is just not only did you build an incredible practice, but all the while you built, and probably the people on this call have no idea just how successful you have been in the Juice Plus company, and have built, you've reached the peak in every area. And just kind of hearing you share the results you saw with your patients, I would assume that I want to hear your thoughts on it, that just fueled your fire to share more about Juice Plus. But how in the world did you do it? I mean, literally, you built 2 businesses at the same time. How did you do it, Dr. Odom? We all want to hear that.
Well, I will say this. My dad was a football coach and a math teacher, and I went to college to follow in his footsteps. He was my hero. And if I ever asked him for advice, he usually would ask me a question and answer my question with his question and make me think of the answer instead of him just telling me. But he retired at 55, and he taught me the value of whatever you spend your money on, get value, get real, whatever you spend your money on, get quality, whatever. And if you're trying to learn a new skill or a new, if you're trying to better yourself in any way, find the best teacher, the best qualified person, and pay them whatever it takes to have them transfer their knowledge to you. So he also taught me the value of hard work and discipline. And when he died, and his former his former players came to the funeral, so many of them would tell me the impact that he had on their lives for the 3 or 4 years or 2 or 3 years that he had them when they were on his football team. And so I wanted to make a difference. And I literally went to college to be a teacher, just like him. I have 5 sons, and 4 of them are teachers now. And the one that's not would be the best teacher, because he tutored his friends in school and helped them through courses and classes. And he's really a math kind of guy. But I'm sorry, I've lost track of what you really asked me. I'm sorry.
Well, just how you built both, your practice and the Juice Plus business.
Sure. Okay. It was important. So back to my dad. He retired at 55. So when I was in my early 50s, I had two friends to die. Well, that's not right. I had two friends. One of them had a stroke and survived it, and he's still alive, but he has no quality of life. He has 24/7 coverage of just helping him through the day. And then I had another colleague. This guy was a general surgeon, but this other guy was an obstetrician, and he worked solo, and that's pretty much suicide in OBGYN. So he just worked himself to death. He had a heart attack, and 1 out of 3 people that have a heart attack, that's their first and last symptom. They die immediately. I could see that happening to me, and I'm thinking, my dad retired early. I really need to retire. So I made up my mind I was going to find something to do. The first 30 years of my practice, I was on the staff at our medical center at UMMC, teaching students, teaching med students, and teaching residents. And I love that aspect, and I love mentoring others and helping see them succeed. And so I was considering, and when I wrote the paper that led to the study at the University of Mississippi on pregnancy and Juice Plus and outcomes, I resigned because I was trying to be a part of that study at the university without being a part of it. They didn't want me to be a part of it. In fact, they suggested that I retire by associate professorship teaching position, so there wouldn't be any potential conflict of interest. So I did. But I was at that point in my life, I'm thinking, I've got to slow down. I would literally, for years, I would average to put 3, 4, 5 hours of sleep at night. You can't be healthy doing that. I knew that. But so that's when I found Juice Plus. That was in 98. And I wasn't looking for a business. I wasn't looking for a retirement, anything. But literally 4 or 5 months into it, I've had 9 joint surgeries. So I had a lot of arthritis in my knees, my back, my shoulder. And after 5 months of Juice Plus, I had no pain. And I couldn't explain it. I said, it couldn't be these pills, surely. Anyway, long story, we went on a vacation. We're active and we scuba dive. So we were gone 2 weeks and we were out of the country, and I couldn't get Juice Plus, and I forgot it. And so after about a week of no Juice Plus, I could tell a difference, especially in my shoulder and in my back. And by the time I got home another week later, I was miserable. And I said, it couldn't be those silly pills. So I got back on them, and literally within a week, 10 days of back on them, the pain disappeared. That's the magic of decreasing inflammation, of reducing free radical damage. So now I'm 6 months into consuming or taking or consuming Juice Plus. And at that point, I've told the rest of the family, I said, guys, we're doing this. And I'm sorry if you don't like swallowing pills, but you're going to learn to like this, because this is making a huge difference. And we didn't have the double-blind, placebo-controlled gold standard studies then. But I was smart enough to say, if it's done that for me, it's going to be wonders for my kids. So I had one with asthma, and literally within a year, he's off of all his medicine. He hiked the Appalachian Trail in 2013 that I got to be with him every month and hike some with him. But he would have been unable to do that without Juice Plus. I had another child that had severe allergies to ant bites and bee stings, and we carried EpiPens. And with Juice Plus, 2 or 3 years later, we didn't worry about that. But we couldn't even have a pet. We couldn't have a dog, because if he spent the night with a friend and they had a dog and he had a flea bite or whatever, he would miss school for a week. So it's just seeing these kinds of things in your own family and your own health, and then seeing what it did with your patients. And I didn't really notice that until 2 or 3 years into when we were suggesting or recommending Juice Plus. But the nurses, I had 4 partners then, and the 5 nurses were having lunch one day. And the other nurses asked my nurse, who had been with me she was with me over 30 years and very loyal. And they said, why is it that your patients don't ever get toxemia? And my nurse she didn't skip a beat. She said, it's because we practice better medicine. And we didn't realize it, but we were practicing better medicine because we were taking that one step out of the box and saying, this will make a difference for you. So when you start seeing that, it becomes so second nature that you want to tell everybody. And we did, and literally and so I stopped delivering in 2002, but I didn't retire till 2015. So I had an office practice, but I wasn't up at night. I wasn't killing myself. I was still operating. I did that for a year, and then I said, this is crazy. I don't want to have to do that, worry about standing, bending over an operating table all this time. So I just had an office practice. So that was no stress. And that's really when I built my practice. That's when I built my Juice Plus business. And so I would go to the office and come home and have dinner. And then I would be on the phone, and I'd be on the phone until 9 o'clock. That was my witching hours, because after 9, you don't want to keep anybody up or call them too late. But literally, I could see how many people that I was affecting. And then how did I build the business? So somewhere around 2010 to 2015, it became very obvious to me that this is not about how much I know and how much I can even tell somebody. It's not about the science. It's about having the people on your team that literally have the same belief that you do, and then pouring into them and helping them be as successful as they can be. So I felt like that as a sponsor of the people on my team, that my obligation to them was to make it easier for them to work with their team. And that's been my role. And instead of trying to go wide and go deep and all that, my entire message here has been to just invest in people. And what do we have? What's our most valuable commodity? It's not money, but it's time. And if you have some experience and maybe a little expertise, being able to share that with your team and helping them grow. And when they grow, of course, you grow too. So that was my transformation.
Well, Dr. Odom, we have Caitlyn Cobb on the call too, who's going to share with us. And I feel like how she is an example of the kind of people you've poured into. You've poured into so many people throughout these years that you probably have no idea the impact that you've had. But this, I would say, is somebody who is going to share your message. She's going to share a little bit of her story of, I think it's going to encourage you, knowing what you've invested your life. I love that saying that you said that your dad encouraged you to invest. I think maybe it was where you put your money, invest in that, was kind of what I heard. And that's what you've done. You invested in it, Juice Plus, for your family, and then you've invested your life into people, duplicating yourself. And so I'm anxious for everyone to hear from Caitlyn Cobb. And then we're going to open up the lines. Dr. Odom has been so kind to answer our questions. So we're going to open up to the audience after Caitlyn speaks. But Caitlyn Cobb is a wife of a minister. She is a mother of 4 and about to give birth to her 5th Juice Plus baby, Dr. Odom. And so she is going to share with us her journey, her pregnancy journeys with her kids, and also as well, just sharing her passion. I have to read her quote when I asked her to give me a little bit about something to share. And I love this, what you had to say, Caitlyn. She said, her passion is to equip families with tools to simplify their lives and thrive in the season God has placed them in. And I loved that passion. I loved hearing Dr. Odom's passion and that passion of yours, Caitlyn. So take it away. Share your story with us this evening.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Yes, like Elaine said, my name is Caitlyn. I have 4 very healthy kids, have had 5 very healthy pregnancies. I'm currently 37 weeks pregnant with my 5th. I said that I was having 3 kids and now I'm having 5. So it's an exciting time in our house every single day. And I'm just so thankful to be with you guys tonight and just to share a little bit of my story. So my story starts 10, 11-ish years ago as a very sick college student. And really even before then, I was just always a sick kid growing up. But my health really bottomed out my freshman year of college. I was hospitalized 3 different times due to various illnesses. And whatever around campus, I just knew I was going to catch 100%. And I was used to being sick literally all the time. So my senior year of college, I was preparing to move back on campus again into my sorority house and just knew that I would be sicker than normal because I was going to be living with 40 women in a house. But that was the year that my life drastically changed thanks to Juice Plus. So my mom attended a Juice Plus presentation, much like this one, and she decided that she was going to get Juice Plus for herself and my sister. I guess my sister was the favorite child. I don't know why she didn't pick me. But they both saw huge improvements in their health. My sister at 16 had never had good GI function. She actually had her first colonoscopy when she was 16 because she had such bad GI function. And she saw huge improvements in her GI function once she started taking Juice Plus. And my mom, who is a teacher, stopped getting sick so often. So I asked my mom to put me on Juice Plus, and I was one of those kids that got Juice Plus for free. So she ordered Juice Plus for my dad, and I was able to take it for free. And I started taking it the week that I moved into my sorority house that last semester of college. And since that day, y'all, I have had no fevers from a viral infection, and I have had less than probably 5 colds. It's been a remarkable change. And since then, I knew that Juice Plus was a non-negotiable in my life. Like I always had to have it because I just wasn't willing to go back to where I was before, just always being that sick kid and always missing out on everything. So I graduated college, got married, and like any good wife, told my husband that he needed to start taking Juice Plus as well as me, because I didn't want to be a young widow and I needed to take care of our future family. And his family had some pretty scary heart disease. And at this point, I had seen the research on Juice Plus and preventing heart disease. And his dad had 4 stents. My husband's dad had 4 stents put in his heart in his 40s. And I just said, I'm not willing to risk this. So my husband told me to find a way to fit it into his youth pastor's salary, which was a challenge because it was not much. And so I became a partner with the sole purpose of offsetting my cost. But I just found that health naturally came up in so many conversations. And before I knew it, without even trying, I had several friends and family members that were ordering with me, and I was covering our costs, which was remarkable because I was just trying to, offset it a little bit. So I very unexpectedly got pregnant with our first child about a year into our marriage. And for the past almost 9 years, y'all, I have been either pregnant or nursing with the help of Juice Plus. And Lord willing, this is our last go round. I've had 5 very healthy pregnancies and nursed 4 very healthy babies. And there's 2 things that I love most about Juice Plus during pregnancy. The first is that the berries in our berry blend really help to reduce the swelling. So I'm 37 weeks pregnant, not swollen at all. My midwives love me because I had a virtual visit today because they know that there's going to be no complications. And they're like, Caitlyn, you're such an easy patient. Like we just know, we do the basics. There's no swelling. There's no nothing. Like you're an easy, boring patient. And they said, that's what we like. And I have people ask me all the time, like, how are you not swollen? And I tell them, it's the Juice Plus. Like I take double every single day, and I drink a lot of water. And those are my two things. And it is such a blessing to not have to have all of that swelling that I know a lot of women experience. The second thing that I love about Juice Plus while being pregnant is that it's bioavailable. So that means that it's absorbed into our bloodstream, and therefore it passes to the baby, and the baby benefits from all those wonderful benefits of Juice Plus, as well as I do. One thing that is remarkable to me is, so when a baby is growing in utero, they develop their taste buds and they're able to taste all of the food that you are eating. And so each one of my children have been exposed to 30 different raw fruits and vegetables from when they were in utero. And so I don't have picky eaters. And as a mom, like, that is such a win. My kids eat salad like all the time. They love their smoothies. It's not a fight to get them to try a new fruit or a new vegetable. And so that's just amazing as a mom. Juice Plus is also super great for breastfeeding moms, because in order for a mom to nourish her child, she has to first nourish herself. It is like the most basic form of self-care. And so I will never forget seeing a handout from a lactation consultant that her first recommendation was double Juice Plus while a mom was nursing, so that the mom could replenish her stores that she needed and therefore make sufficient milk for her child. Because your body's going to take care of itself first before it takes care of another person. And so if you're not nourishing yourself well as a nursing mom, you're not going to have the milk production that you're going to need to sustain somebody else's life. So having kids has been such an eye-opening experience for me. And I understand now why I was so sick growing up, because I had horrible nutrition and we just didn't know. And I don't fault my parents for it at all, but they just didn't know. That's how they were raised. And so that's how they raised us. But to be completely honest now, because I know what I know, I feel an obligation to always share Juice Plus, because it's worth its weight in gold as a woman of childbearing age and as a mom. My kids very rarely get sick. And I will be the first person to tell you that we try and eat well, but there are days that we eat not great at all. And that I'm like literally throwing Juice Plus gummies in the back of my van to my kids as we're pulling out of the drive-through, because we're a very busy family. But I'm just so thankful that I know that my kids are getting what they need through Juice Plus, even though I may fail them sometimes and have to take them through those drive-throughs, but that's okay. So we very rarely have sick visits. And if my kids do get sick, it doesn't make or break us. Like, they're not down for the count. They recover very quickly. And so I know that is also attributed to Juice Plus, because that's not how I was growing up. When I got sick growing up, I was down for the count for weeks on end. And it's not bad for us to get sick. That's the way that God designed our bodies to work, was to fight those viral infections, to need some more rest and just to kind of recharge so that our body can do what it was designed to do. But when we're not getting better, or we're constantly getting sick, that's a great indicator that our body is not functioning the way that it should. And so as a mom, the Juice Plus partnership and business has provided me with the opportunity to contribute financially to my family while staying home full time. And I also homeschool, which is a little bit wild some days. But I'm just so thankful for my Juice Plus income. It paid our rent when my husband left his full-time job to pursue a master's degree for our family. And it just brought me so much pride to be able to fully support my husband in that season of life as he was doing something to better our family. My Juice Plus income also allows me to contribute to a Roth IRA. That's something that I care a lot about, having a finance background. I don't want to be a financial burden to my kids later in life. And so I contribute to a Roth IRA every month through my Juice Plus income. And that's such a blessing. The way that we have structured our home is that we live off of my husband's salary and we play and save off of mine. And so it brings me a lot of joy as a full-time stay-at-home homeschooling mom to be able to pay for all my kids' extracurriculars, their sports. I was literally just at a football game. There's summer camps, and my kids are very busy in the summer. dance lessons, our Dollywood season passes. I helped pay to remodel our kitchen recently. And to know that I'm literally about to have a baby at any moment. And I know that my paycheck is going to show up in my checking account, whether I'm working or not, is icing on the cake. So I'm just so thankful for the life that God has provided through Juice Plus by changing my health, giving me a healthy family, and a purpose and mission outside of my motherhood.
Thank you so much, Caitlyn. What a beautiful story. And what a gift. Both Dr. Odom, you and Caitlyn have been to us tonight and just sharing your heart. And so much of what both of you have said is going to be nuggets that I'm going to share with people. So thank you so much. And we're going to close out the call, but if you'd like to ask questions from Dr. Odom or Caitlyn, please stay on the call. We just want you to know that you're invited. You're invited to join us by adding, I hope at a minimum, adding Juice Plus to your diet. But even more so, we invite you to join us on this journey of just having an impact on others and sharing about whole food nutrition, and with a simple way that somebody as busy as Dr. Odom has been all these years, and then Caitlyn with almost 5 kids, just how wonderful it is to have a tool like Juice Plus to help us achieve our health and wellness goals. So thank you for being on the call, and feel free to, I'm going to stop the recording now, but feel free to